Good morning, this is Angela with Parker's Permaculture. There is nowhere I can stand in my kitchen where there is not terrible glare from the windows on my glasses, so sorry about that. I am in the middle of doing kind of my big round of Monday morning cooking. I usually make quick breads or muffins and rolls or bread on Monday morning to kind of get us through the next couple of days. And I often am processing kind of a larger meal that we break down throughout the week, either making a pot of beans that we'll have as beans and rice and then have as burritos and then maybe have in enchiladas throughout the week. Or perhaps I am making a pot roast or roasting beef bones or something like that. Today, I wanted to take one of the things I'm processing here in the kitchen and use it to illustrate two principles in permaculture. Now, in permaculture, there are 12 guiding principles. They are kind of mottos, or they're not really rules. They're just facilitators that help us in crafting a more efficient and resilient design. And I think it's really good as we go about our lives, either in the garden or in our home or in our communities, to kind of think with that framework kind of lingering in the background, because it can really help unify our thinking. It can help us see the connection in all things and therefore design more holistically and more effectively if we know the 12 permaculture principles and if we kind of filter our observations through them all of the time. For me, I think it makes me more of a mindful and conscientious person in general, and also increases my enjoyment in my experiences because I'm able to notice like, oh, hey, here is a manifestation or a realization of permaculture principle number 5. And oh yeah, here's a way that I see permaculture principle number 12 working in real life. So it helps us not only in our garden design, but like literally everything, and changes the way that we view the world around us. So as I'm going about my kitchen chores this morning, I saw two permaculture principles stand out really obviously as I'm undertaking a really simple domestic task, and I wanted to share those with you today. Okay, so Mondays are my big cooking day. You can see I've been doing tons of dishes and trying to get everything cleaned up from a big round of baking and cooking. I've got my muffins done, I've got bread rising, I've got cake in the oven. And here I have probably not the most eye-catching illustration, but it really stood out to me as I was taking care of this kitchen task, that there are two big permaculture principles at play here. So yesterday we roasted a turkey and ate it for dinner. And then I took the carcass and obviously picked it and stored all of the meat that we could. And then I immediately made turkey stock in my Instant Pot overnight. And that meant this morning the whole kitchen smelled delicious like roast turkey. And I had the opportunity to then process what was left after making turkey stock. And for me, I found two permaculture principles really standing out. Permaculture principle number 3, obtain a yield. And permaculture principle number 6, which is produce no waste. I had a turkey carcass, which obviously is a waste product, and kind of no-brainer. You pick the leftovers, that's an additional meal. There are 5 of us in our family of 6 that eat poultry. The other one had beans for dinner. And so we eat most of a turkey, but there was enough left for another meal. And then the carcass becomes stock, which, whatever, modern terminology, bone broth, whatever. So I just take the turkey carcass and I cut up an onion and I add a bay leaf and a little bit of apple cider vinegar to try and leach all the calcium I can out of the bones. And I make a nice rich stock overnight. Now, from this, I obviously get the permaculture principle, obtain a yield. I get a yield of stock out of the carcass. I also am about to put this in the fridge, and you can see all this fat on the top. I'll put it in the fridge and let it solidify, and that will give me a yield of schmaltz, which I will then use for making the dumplings for my turkey and dumpling soup tonight. So I get 2 yields out of that. And then I get a third yield, which is I'm picking the carcass when it's all done, and I am getting even more meat. Obviously wishbones for my kids. Now, you might think, okay, well, you still have, you've gotten your 3 yields. You've gotten your stock, you've gotten your schmaltz, you've gotten your additional serving or 2 or 3 of actual meat. But then you have a lot of waste. So permaculture principle 3, obtain a yield. Permaculture principle 6, produce no waste. Now, in produce no waste, we try really, really hard. We don't do it perfectly. It's really hard to live in a consumer society and be effective at produce no waste because so many things come in packaging that we just don't have a way to utilize. But a turkey, I have the really big bones. The chickens can't eat these. If I put these in the garden, it just attracts rodents, or if my dogs got them, it would be a bad scene. Obviously, never feed cooked bones to your dogs, and definitely don't feed poultry bones to your dogs. So these are really large, too large for the poultry to make use of, but I bury them around the garden under my fruit trees, and then I have a slow release calcium fertilizer for my trees. So these are not wasted. They won't go in the garbage. My chickens and ducks cannot eat the cooked onions. They don't like cooked onions, so those will also get buried that are left over from the stock. I don't want those to go to waste. They will turn back into soil and feed my fruit trees. None of this is waste. This is a little bit of parchment paper. It'll also get buried. Obviously, this is our chicken scrap bucket. This is what we use to put kitchen scraps in to feed the chickens and ducks. Yes, you can feed your chickens and ducks poultry. They are omnivores. In fact, they would love the carcass of a chicken or a duck just as much as they would a turkey. So any little pieces of bone like this, the ducks and chickens will eat, especially because I have cooked the bones with apple cider vinegar and really broken them down quite a bit. They're soft and crumbly, and the ducks and chickens will eat that and get additional calcium for their eggs to give them nice, strong eggs. So we have, let me come over here really quickly and clean my hand. We have the permaculture principle of obtain a yield. I got a meal of turkey, I got stock, I got schmaltz, I got extra turkey scraps. I have food for my ducks and chickens, I have fertilizer for my trees, and I have produced no waste in this process. Every bit is used. And from this, I will obtain another yield. I will get eggs and I will get manure from my chickens. So everything is really connected in permaculture. Now, this isn't a permaculture principle, but in permaculture, we talk about stacking functions. That is where you get as many yields or as many jobs out of one element in your design as you possibly can. This turkey has provided me with food, fertilizer for my garden, food for my ducks and chickens. It has been something that stacks functions really well. So when you think about the permaculture principles, there's these other kind of key concepts. Stacking functions is one which overlays many permaculture principles and is really, really useful to think about. If we think about stacking functions, if we think about how can I get as many jobs or as many roles out of one element in my design, you will find that permaculture principles naturally fall underneath. They naturally come together and you find that you are applying them if you use the concept of stacking functions. So thanks for watching today. I hope that better illustrates permaculture principles 3 and 6 for you, and that you consider committing those 12 permaculture principles and other design concepts in permaculture to memory. Because then when they are tucked away in your memory bank, it's almost like muscle memory. You find that as you are interacting with your environment, with other people, with your garden, with your kitchen, that you have those moments, those flashes where you see a really good illustration of a permaculture principle. You see it applied in real life. And being able to pick out and notice those principles and how they are working in reality really helps shape the way that you view the world, and it helps your permaculture design. When you view things through the lens of the 12 principles, it really helps not only your daily experience, but it helps you design better for your own property and your own community. So I hope that you will take the opportunity to commit those 12 principles to memory and see the benefits of knowing them and reading them in the world around you. I'll be back later this week for my garden. I have lots of things happening here in February, including pruning my hardy kiwis. I'll have a video on that later this week. I'll be back. Thanks.